So there's a lot of test prep information out there, but one of the things that you might run into the more you look at it is that there's a new SAT and an old SAT. And if you're trying to learn about vocab, you might notice that there's some discrepancies between the two. So if you're at all worried that you're looking into the wrong information for the SAT vocab section, I'm here to help. So I'm Melissa with PrepScholar. PrepScholar is a leading test prep site founded and staffed by top scorers and all of the major standardized tests. Even better, we're constantly updating and adapting with all of the changes to the test prep and college applications industries, which can change really fast and be very confusing for students. So in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the new SAT and how that relates to SAT vocab, which is quite different than it used to be with the old SAT. If you find this interesting or useful, please consider subscribing down below. There's a big red button that you can use to do that. You can also click the little bell icon, and that's going to give you a notification every time we upload a new video, so you're going to be the first to know. Also, consider leaving me a comment down below just to let me know what studying strategies you have for SAT vocab or any questions that you might have, because I am working on other videos about SAT prep and the new SAT, and anything you need to know I can include in future videos to be more helpful. So let me know. So before we get into SAT vocab, let's give a brief background of what the new SAT really is. So we call it the new SAT, but in fact it is around 3 years old now. It launched in 2016. One of the biggest things to know about it is that it's generally considered to be more predictable than the older SAT, which could be quite confusing for students. So the new version is a little easier to understand. So in the new SAT, reading is now the longest section, and that's also where you're going to find the majority of your SAT vocab. There is some in the writing section as well, but most of it will be in SAT reading. It's also important to know that the math section has been split into two sections, one where you're allowed to use a calculator and one where you're not. And if you need help with the math section, right up there we should have a link to our how to fail the SAT math section, but we're not actually going to teach you how to fail. We're going to teach you how to not fail. Another important thing to know is that the SAT only grades you on questions you get right. If you have the opportunity to guess, do it. You want every bubble filled because you're not penalized for being wrong. And lastly, the essay is now optional. Now, whether or not you write the essay is going to depend on a few different factors. That's going to be the subject of another video, so if you have any questions about that, again, please leave them in the comments below so I know I can address them in the future. So let's get into how the new SAT affects the way that you should study your vocabulary. So one of the most important things to know is that SAT vocab on the new SAT is going to be passage-based rather than sentence-based. So on the old SAT, you would do a lot of reading a sentence and then trying to pick the right word from a list to substitute into a blank. On the new SAT, what you're going to be doing instead is reading through a passage and then answering a multiple choice question with a series of synonyms or words that mean the same thing that you're going to substitute in instead. And what this does is it forces you to think about words in context. So context is a really important part of the new SAT. Instead of having to memorize a lot of things, you're going to be understanding what exactly a word is doing in the exact place that it's written. So instead of having to pull a definition out of a hat, for lack of a better term, you're going to match the correct synonym to the word how it's used. You're taking a word and then you're defining what it means right here. Not what all it could mean, but what it means right here. So learning word meanings and context is going to be a lot easier to study for in some senses because you're not memorizing thousands of words. The problem, especially for non-native English speakers, is going to be that it's a little more difficult to study context because you don't know what the context is ahead of time. That means that though the words themselves might be simpler, you're going to have to understand a lot more meanings for them. So that fundamentally changes the way that you study. It's not just rote memorization, it's understanding how a word functions and all of the different things that it can mean. Regardless of whether you're a native English speaker or a non-native English speaker, that means that you're going to be spending a little more time studying mid-level vocabulary. And mid-level vocabulary itself is a whole thing that we could try to unpack here in my next study tips video. We're going to go over, what it means to be mid-level vocabulary and what exactly you should be studying. So the new SAT has two different kinds of questions about vocab. And the first is going to be precision questions. So precision questions are going to be what you find on the SAT writing section. They're going to be more similar to the old SAT style where you're kind of not quite filling in the blank in the exact same way, but it's going to be a little closer to that needing to know the definition thing. There's only, however, going to be 2 to 3 of these questions on the entire test. so they don't carry as much weight as they did in the past. You don't have to worry about them quite so much. So the second way that vocab questions are going to show up on the SAT is going to be in words in context questions. So words in context questions are exactly what it sounds like. That's when you're going to be reading a passage and you're going to have, in line 50 of the text, the word left means, and then you'll have a multiple choice answer of different meanings for the word left that you could choose from. So I chose the word left deliberately because the words in the new SAT are not going to be as unfamiliar and unlikely to be used as the words in the old SAT. So words on the old SAT would have been words like ephemeral or words like evanescence, not the band, the word itself, or words like fortuitous, like words that we just don't run into that often. On the new SAT, there are a lot more likely to be common words with multiple meanings. That doesn't mean that they're always going to be easy words, but they are going to be common words. So the reason that I use left is because left itself has multiple meanings. You have left as in, your left hand, you have left as in to be left behind, or you have left as in, a thing you do, like I left the party. A question on the new SAT might ask you, in line 50, the word left means, and then you would choose, left as in a direction, left as in the direction that's not right, or left as in to vacate something, or left as in to forget something when you have vacated. That's a really complicated way to phrase it, but you get it. So the word left can have multiple meanings, and you're going to need to find the right one by choosing a synonym that can be substituted into the sentence. So down in the description, I'm going to have a link to a blog post on PrepScholar that also includes a whole list of vocab words from different practice tests so that you can get a sense of what kind of words you're going to know, what level you're going to need to know, and what some of the different meanings are. Obviously, we don't know what the test is until you actually take it, but getting a sense of where the test is on your vocabulary level will give you a better idea of what to study. So there's going to be 7 to 8 of those words in context questions on the SAT. So there's going to be slightly more of them than there are of the precision questions. So if you're, crunched for time and you only have a little bit of time left to study before your SAT date, you're probably going to want to focus your attention on words in context as opposed to precision questions. Obviously, if you have the time, study both. But if you can only choose one, focus on the words in context. You're going to have more of them, so you're going to want to have those skills locked down. So here's what you need to know about the new SAT vocab. Number 1, there are fewer questions about vocab on the new SAT than there were on the older one, which doesn't mean that you shouldn't study it, but it does mean that maybe don't spend quite as much time hammering definitions to words that you won't use into your brain. It's just not a great use of your time. And that's something that you'll run into as you're doing SAT prep, is if you're looking at older sites, they're going to be like, oh, you need to memorize these 1,000 words. That's not something that's applicable anymore. So be sure that you're using fresh, updated study material rather than stuff that came from before 2016, because otherwise you're going to end up wasting your time. Instead of drilling yourself on obscure vernacular, which is an old SAT way of saying words that you're probably never going to use again in real life, take some time to study words in context and what that means, and kind of words that you use frequently that have multiple meanings. That's going to be what you need to study. So that's going to be it for this week. Please join me next week for a more in-depth look at how to study for SAT vocab. And please subscribe to this channel and hit the notification button if you want all of the updates just as soon as they happen. And also consider sharing this video with somebody who you think might find it useful. Down in the description, again, all kinds of links to different blog posts. We've got all kinds of stuff on PrepScholar about different aspects of the SAT. Down below I'll have, again, links to everything I mentioned, and also some additional study tips for the SAT writing and reading sections, which are going to be where you're going to find the bulk of your vocab questions. You may also consider, down in the description box, PrepScholar's test prep program. So our SAT program is geared to teach you the things that you need to know, not the things that you're already good at. So if vocab is where you're struggling, vocab's what we're going to teach you. You're not going to waste time learning, a whole bunch of weird math formulas that you already know by heart. Instead, we're going to teach you exactly what you need to know. So that's a great option, and we're going to have more information about that on our website, PrepScholar.com, or you can find it down in the description box down there. So I will see you next time with SAT study strategies. Thanks so much for joining me, and happy prepping.